Hello, this is Richard Jacobs, Executive Director of the Finding Genius Foundation, a newly minted nonprofit, also host of the Finding Genius podcast. I want to talk to you today about more things as I learn them about anxiety and depression. This is a year and a half long project that I've decided to embark on and raise money for. The premise is this: if you have anxiety or depression or related problems, or if you know someone that does, and you go to an expert, you go to a practitioner, and you ask for help, they're likely to try hard to help you, and they may give you 1% of all the possible treatments and methods out there. What if, by using researchers and looking at thousands of disparate sources, I could accumulate 21% of all the possible treatments out there? It would be home run on top of home run on top of home run. And that's the goal of this project, the Anxiety and Depression Codex. As I go through this project, I'm going to be creating these audios to teach you what I learn. I want to take you on this journey with me as I go. Some of it may sound pretty basic, but that's okay. We're going to get into more advanced stuff later on. So here goes. One thing I learned, and unfortunately, I have personal experience with this, people in my family that have anxiety and depression. What I noticed is your mood, my mood, everyone's mood, it affects everyone around you. It doesn't just affect you. This is really something important to know. If I have a really bad day at work and I come home, I have to try hard not to take it out on my kids and my wife. I don't always succeed. I feel terrible if I do get mad at them and I overreact, but I have to try. And I noticed, it's pretty easy to notice and think about. Again, if you don't feel good, if you're in pain, if you're upset, if you're anxious, if you're depressed, whatever it is, it affects everyone around you, and it can affect people to the point just as bad as, let's say, an alcoholic in a family could affect a family. So if you have someone, again, in your family that has depression or anxiety, if it's bad enough, that family can suffer just as much or even more as if it had an alcoholic in it. It doesn't have to be physical abuse, mental abuse, screaming and yelling and, gaslighting and all these kinds of things easily can be just as hurtful or more hurtful than physical abuse. And that's what I've learned, unfortunately, firsthand. And I haven't done physical abuse. I've tried not to do mental abuse. I'm being very, very honest here. I try my hardest. I'm not perfect. I don't always succeed. But this made me realize that this is super important. So this project, every person that it helps with anxiety and depression, even if it reduces their depression by 20% or 30% or 50%, 10%, whatever it is, that means that person's coworkers and fellow churchgoers and family members and people at the store that they interact with are going to get a better version of that person. They're not going to be as terse with them. They're not going to be as short, as moody, as pissy, as abusive, etc., etc., etc. And I've noticed this again in my own life. When I feel good, when I'm having a good day and I'm happy and people have been nice to me, I'm nicer to people. I want to be nicer to them, and I'm in a better mood. And, let's say my wife's yelled at me and she's really mad at me for something, whether I deserve it or not. I go out there into the world, I'm not going to be as nice to people. I'm going to be gruff and terse and short. And, what if that leads to me losing a business deal? What if that leads to me upsetting a friend when I didn't mean to? What if it leads to me yelling at my son or my daughter and hurting them emotionally, maybe for the rest of their life? I don't know. So it's super important for all listeners to monitor how you feel and look honestly. This is not easy to do, but look honestly how your moods and your feelings, whether you have anxiety or depression or not, but look how it affects all the people around you. And I think you'll see when I'm not in a good mood or in a good way, I really shouldn't be talked to. I'm not good and I'm upsetting the people around me. But when I feel good, I'm not. So I wanted to point this out. Again, maybe it's a very simple thing, an obvious thing, but I think it's critically important. And for me, that further underscores the need to work on this anxiety and depression stuff. Because again, if I can help people, if we can help thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, that effect is going to be multiplied by 4, 5, maybe even 10. Because each person, yes, there are people that are solo in the world, but a lot of people have, aunts, uncles, cousins, mothers, fathers. People go to Starbucks, they go to whatever store, they may go to church, they have coworkers, etc. And if I can improve that person's life and then that kind of resonates or extends to everyone in their circle, then I've done a lot of good. So that's another impetus for this project. So I'd like you to check out what we call the CODEX. That's the name for the guide that we're making for anxiety and depression. It very likely will be attached to the email in which this audio was attached. If you have perused it, wonderful. I'd love your feedback. If you feel like you want to donate to this project, we definitely need your help. I can't afford to do it all myself. I estimate it's going to be about $500,000 to do this. It's going to take a year and a half. I've given myself the goal of the end of December next year, 2022, to have it done and ready as a resource for people. But again, I need help. I am funding this myself, but I can't do it all. So I'd like you to consider, if you think this is important and it could really make a positive change in the world. I know it will. I intend to do this no matter what, but I need your help. $10, $50, $100, whatever you want to give, $1,000, let us know. It would be a huge benefit to us to get this project moving faster. But I'm starting no matter what. So thank you for listening. Any questions, just email us and we're here to help. Take care.